This podcast is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or spending euros to tip your Colosseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com/US/compare to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
Today on CityCast DC, the Fort Dupont Ice Rink has been in shambles ever since I started playing hockey years ago. But it's got a really cool and storied history. It's home of one of the oldest black hockey clubs in the United States, and Neil Henderson, who founded that club, the Fort Dupont Cannons, he also got an award from the NHL. The rink has needed a little TLC forever, but it never got it, until now. Unfortunately, there's another delay for when it'll open again, and Martin Austermuhle from the 51st is here to tell me, and host Bridget Todd, why it's taken so long to get this historic rink back on its feet. Today is Monday, September 29th. I'm Julia Karen, and here's what DC is talking about. All right, so before we get into this interview, Bridget, I've got something to talk to you about, and can you guess what it is?
Is it CityCast DC membership?
Listen, you are correct. Listen, we've been doing this for a week now. This is the last week to sign up. CityCast neighbors are the best. We get so many cool recommendations of things to do, places to visit, places to eat. Generally nice comments from people who I don't know when the internet is typically like a horrible place. I don't know. It's strange, but great.
And if you are hearing my voice, that means that you listen to this show, and we really, really appreciate it. It takes a lot of work to make this podcast. And if you want to support this show, the best way that you can do that is by becoming a neighbor. And you get some great perks if you join, right, Julia?
Yes, you do. You get ad-free listening, which cannot stress enough. Love ads, we do. But seriously, come on. Do you really want to be listening to them? I don't think so.
With ad-free listening, you get, 3 whole minutes of your day back. Not about listening to ads.
You do. You get 3 whole minutes of your day back. You also get a members-only 4th topic in your Friday news roundup. And if that is your favorite show, that is worth the price of admission, which is $10 a month or $100 for the year. Seriously. That's one of, I think, the best perks that we offer. Some of the other perks include an events-only newsletter curated by Kayla of Hey DC, our team celebrity. If you love that newsletter, that events email has me never having FOMO again. I don't know about you, Bridget.
Yeah, $10 a month is a cheap price to pay to never experience FOMO ever again in DC.
Yeah, seriously, it's great. Your investment in us means we can keep bringing you conversations and stories that help you better understand the forces shaping our city, like this story we're going to get into about this old hockey rink that I've been playing at since I was a kid, that should, get a little TLC and loving and care. I don't know. I'm someone who came from public radio and has come from a bunch of different for-profit newsrooms. And I feel like occasionally, even still, there's this big disconnect between the people who listen or read your work. But I don't know. It's so strange going out into the world and having your laptop or having a CityCast DC sticker and being like, oh my God, you make CityCast DC? I listen to that, or I read Hey DC and I think it's great. It's one of those things where I actually feel connected to the audience. And I think that's why we call you guys neighbors, is because it feels like we're actually connected in that way. Bridget, have you had that experience out on the street?
Oh, yeah. When we went to Art All Night, it was so nice to meet people in person who were able to share why they love CityCast DC. And that is really why we do what it is that we do. So please keep supporting our work. Just go to membership.citycast.fm and become a CityCast neighbor today.
All right. Again, for folks that didn't get that, that's membership.citycast.fm. Okay, let's get to our interview with Martin Austermuhle of the 51st about the Fort Dupont Ice Rink. Martin, Bridget, thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this today with you.
I bet. All right. So I grew up as a rink rat. I grew up playing hockey. I now coach hockey. I still play in the DC metro area. And this story about Fort Dupont and its ice rink has been just wild to me for a really long time. So for folks who didn't even know that we have a real rink in the DC area, in the bounds of the district, Martin, where is the Fort Dupont Ice Rink?
So, well, first of all, I wanted to start. I didn't know rink rat was a thing, but thank you for introducing me to the term. Fort Dupont is in Fort Dupont, and it's in Ward 7. It's just off of Minnesota Avenue, not far from where the Nationals Youth Academy is, if that places it for anybody. But yeah, it's a neighborhood ice rink. It's been there since 1976. It's the sort of place that I'm sure plenty of people have driven by and not known was even there, but it has been there for a while.
Wait, I have kind of a stupid question. Why is that where there is an ice rink? I am one of the people that you've just described who has probably driven by a dozen times and never thought there's an ice rink there. If you would have told me, before this morning, I did not know that DC had an ice rink within its city bounds. Why is it there? It doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Yeah, so the history is interesting. It was built in 1976. It was actually built by the National Park Service, and it's right on the border of Fort Dupont Park, which is National Park Service land. So they had land there. They built it for the bicentennial, and there was kind of this idea of, look at this cool thing we can do for a struggling neighborhood in a majority Black city sort of thing. It was kind of a bicentennial gift to this neighborhood in the district.
So I'm familiar with how rinks are run in Montgomery County, because that's where I grew up mostly playing. Cabin John is run by the Park Service in Montgomery County. How is this rink run by the city? Who runs it? What do they do? How does it work?
Right. And this is, again, where it gets additionally complicated. NPS originally opened the rink and they ran it for the first roughly 20 or so years that it was in existence. But that there were ultimately complaints about how NPS was managing the facility and also the upkeep of the facility. Essentially, NPS was just not geared for this sort of work. Again, you think about the National Park Service. They run Yosemite. They manage access to Yellowstone and Glacier, those sorts of national parks. Urban national parks, they've never been great at. So anyhow, there were complaints about how they were running the Fort Dupont Ice Rink. So then in the mid-1990s, this kind of private group, this nonprofit organization, the Friends of Fort Dupont Ice Arena, was formed. It was a kind of mix of people who are very into hockey and very into ice sports, and then people who have access to the world of philanthropy and money and can kind of sustain a project like this. And they pitched the idea to NPS of, why don't you let us do all the programming and the management and kind of run the facility? You guys will still own it, but we'll be the ones who run it. And so they've been running it since, and they're the ones who, if you ever walk in there and you pay your kind of a couple dollars to skate, it goes to them. They use the money that ice hockey teams pay for ice time. They use that to subsidize programs like Kids on Ice and things like that have benefited the local community. So that's how it runs right now.
Martin, I have a feeling that we would not be talking to you about this ice rink if it was all peaches and cream and sunshine and light, and it was all working as intended, as it's supposed to be. What's happening with this rink? For real, what is wrong with it?
Right. Well, I think we could have been talking about it had it opened on time, which it was supposed to this month, roughly. It's been closed for about...
First thing wrong with it, didn't open up.
Didn't open on time. Love that for us.
Did not open on time. So it's been closed for 2.5 years because it needed to be rebuilt. Basically, it was 40 plus years old. It was small. It was kind of, I'm sure, Julia, you've probably skated there. You know what it was like. It had its appeal, but it had old appeal. So they had this kind of years-long debate over funding to get the thing rebuilt, whether it should be expanded to include a second sheet of ice, which would then expand how many offerings they could have for people, how many teams could skate there, that sort of stuff. That kind of got hashed out about 4 years ago in the DC Council, where they finally did find funding for it. It was going to be about $40 million to rebuild the facility. But after a bunch of negotiations, it ended up being just a one-rink facility, and they were just going to make it essentially new, but still with only one rink. Anyhow, fast forward to today, the big issue is that apparently in the reconstruction of it, in this rebuilding and kind of renovation of this new facility, they have screwed up some critical components, one of them being the dehumidification system. And I only learned this kind of reporting the story, that you can't run an ice rink without a good dehumidifier.
That is correct.
Yes.
A lot of the rinks in the area I know drain their rinks, and they just have concrete underneath because they're just you know what? It's too humid out. There's no point in having a rink here. We might as well just let nature do its thing and then put sheets of ice on, in the early fall, and then let people go nuts then.
Right. But in a place like DC in the summer, this is supposed to be a year-round rink. The summer months get very humid. And if you don't dehumidify these facilities, basically you get fog and condensation inside. It was described to me as it can feel like it's raining, or it can potentially rain because there's so much condensation on the roof that it starts dripping down, which creates issues obviously with mold, creates issues with and what I reported in the story, that they started finding stalagmites on the floor of where the ice is supposed to be. Essentially, water was dripping down and just collecting there and creating these bumps. And these would be bumps on ice. And again, Julia, you played ice hockey. I'm assuming if you have bumps on ice, it's not ideal for safety purposes.
You could break your ankle. That's not fun. Additionally, like I've skated in rinks where, it has been like humid and foggy and all of that stuff. And it's, it's not dangerous, but it's not fun. It's really hot. It's really warm. It's like you're skating like in soup is kind of what it's like.
So no, long story short, that was the allegation that the Friends of Fort Dupont, who are supposed to manage this rink and are kind of made up of, their board includes a bunch of people who are experts in building rinks. They say that the city screwed up essentially the reconstruction of this facility, and the dehumidification system is not working properly, or it's just not fit for this type of building. And so they can't safely open it now because they're concerned about the quality of the ice. They're also concerned about like the conditions inside, how it's going to feel to skate there, and also just the buildup of humidity and what that could mean for mold and long-term health impacts. So that's kind of the not so short summary of what's going on.
Kind of a dumb question about the bumps on the ice, which does sound hazardous. What's the thing that they drive over the ice to clean it and smooth it out? It has a weird name.
A Zamboni.
Yes. Is that not is that not effective here?
No, I was told actually by some people who I called a bunch of people who run rinks both inside in the area, in the DC area, and outside, and asked them really stupid questions because I didn't know these things either. So I was like, listen, can't they just like smooth it out? Isn't that what the Zamboni is supposed to do? And they were like, no. The Zamboni, like, it's supposed to kind of layer new ice down, like a very thin layer, kind of deal with the fact that you have, the usual kind of the ice, the indentations that skates will leave behind. But if you have like big bumps on there, it can actually damage the Zambonis themselves. And those are expensive pieces of equipment. So basically, you cannot have any sort of big like bumps on ice because of that risk.
Wow, who knew?
I'm telling you.
There you go.
Don't miss Folger Theater's Julius X, playing September 23rd through October 26th at the Folger Shakespeare Library. This bold new play by Peabody Award-winning journalist Al Letson remixes Shakespeare's Julius Caesar with the history of Malcolm X, sampling lyrically and historically from Shakespeare's text, famous speeches by civil rights leaders, and Letson's own verse. Directed by DC-based theater artist Nicole Brewer and starring renowned Shakespearean actor Brandon Carter, Julius X explores the historical weight of Malcolm X's last days and the cyclical nature of ambition, power, and revolution. Tickets start at $20 and can be purchased online at folger.edu or by calling the box office at 202-544-7077. Tuesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Get yours today. When the Library of Congress says it's a library for you, they really mean it. The library hosts year-round free events to share its collections with the public, both in person and online. Visit loc.gov/events to elevate your happy hour every Thursday with eclectic entertainment and cocktails during Live at the Library. Bring kids for hands-on activities at family days. Find daytime workshops for lifelong learners in Afternoons with the Library. Enjoy world-class live music in their Concerts from the Library of Congress series and more. Whatever your age or interest, there's a program to connect you to the Library of Congress collections. Plan your next visit at loc.gov/events. That's loc.gov/events.
Hey, Bridget Todd here, co-host of CityCast DC. At CityCast DC, our mission is simple. We strive to make our listeners more engaged neighbors because we believe that better neighbors make better cities. Every day, we bring you the local stories, conversations, and tips that help you feel more connected to DC and the people and places that make it feel like home. And when you become a CityCast DC neighbor, you're investing in that mission. Your support allows us to keep covering those local issues that matter most to our communities and highlight the stories that make this city shine. Plus, CityCast DC neighbors get great benefits like ad-free podcast episodes, a weekly email rounding up a full week's worth of curated local events, invitations to members-only events, and more. Sign up today for $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. Join the neighborhood. That's membership.citycast.fm, and thank you.
All right, so before we get back to the interview, it's halftime, which means it's membership pitch time. You should be lucky that it's halftime because in ice hockey, there are 3 periods. There would be 2 technical halftimes. The team of neighbors from membership. We've got multiple hockey rosters on our team. And I don't mean just like the 5 players that you throw out in the goalie, that's like 6 total. No, I'm talking like full, multiple lines deep, 20 people plus. It's awesome. But we got to grow it even more.
I don't know anything about hockey, so I will just have to take your word on all of that. Yeah, I love the fact that our team has grown, and if you want to support all that awesome work out on the ice, just become a member for $10 a month at membership.citycast.fm, and you can arrange all your sticks to create a goal for the team. I don't know. I can save this. I feel like we've got a cheering audience in the stands listening. And I want to thank all the existing members who are our cheering fans on the outskirts of the ice, in the stands, rooting for us, who have already joined this campaign. We love you.
Again, membership.citycast.fm. Let's go, team. Back to our interview with Martin Austermuhle. So when they finally get this funding for Fort Dupont, is there anybody that we know who's like at fault for why this didn't become like a 2-rink surface, why the dehumidifier didn't work? Like, how is this supposed to function normally?
Well, under normal circumstances, like the council would say, okay, cool. Well, this is what it's going to cost. That money will be set aside. The city goes out, they find a contractor. The contractor kind of goes through, presents its plans, it goes through design, all that sort of jazz. And then in theory, like you get to the end of the project and you've gotten all the things you want. Again, this is very in theory. And this is the big debate over the fate of Fort Dupont, is that, again, initially there was this kind of push to have a second rink. But as these designs were being developed, the city started coming back and saying, listen, it's getting too expensive. We can't afford a second rink. Now, this also did coincide with the start of the pandemic, where things did get much more expensive construction-wise. But I heard from experts who have built other rinks in the region and say that DC probably seems to be overpaying for what they're getting. Like $40 million for a single rink, a single sheet of ice, seems expensive. So there's that concern. And then there's the concern of like, no one has really figured out yet who may have messed up there. Was it legitimately the contractor? Was it the architect? Was it the engineers that they hired? Was it that the city just had requirements that were so strict that it led to this one system that doesn't really work? That's one concern some people expressed to me, is that they may have bought a system that is very environmentally friendly, but that also means it may not work in these conditions for these purposes. So like, it's great in theory, but not in practice.
$40 million for a rink that is this janky is a lot of money. What's the refund policy on that?
Yeah, as a taxpayer, can we get our money back?
Well, I think we're probably far beyond getting money back at this point. I mean, I went by the other day. The building is there. It looks very nice. People have sent me pictures from inside, and it does look legitimately nice, like well done and new.
And to paint a picture for folks who like have never been to this rink, Bridget, you in particular, imagine like the jankiest, oldest New England, Boston-style rink. Like, the bleachers are kind of worn down. The locker rooms are like all concrete and brick, but they're like too short. So you're like, I'm 5'2". You're standing up and you're like hitting your head on the ceiling. It's very cramped. And the sun, also the way that it was built, the sun shines onto the ice. There's these beautiful windows, which are great in theory for like looking in and seeing what's going on, but it would actually melt the ice during the game. So the ice quality was not good. It was a mess. So I've seen the photos and it looks so much nicer.
Before we got on, you were trying to explain this to me, and you were just like, I cannot express to you how low down and janky this rink is. Whatever you're imagining it as, take it down a few notches.
Yeah, so, no, when I get games on my schedule at Fort Dupont, I'm like, oh no. It feels bad.
Right. I mean, and I think the comparison is like you've played at Cabin John. I've taken my kids skating at Cabin John. That's a nice facility. I mean, I went to Tucker Road, which is in Prince George's County recently, and that's relatively new, and that's really nice. So Fort Dupont was not that. And the new facility is supposed to be a little more comparable to that. In terms of getting their money back, at this point, the issue is that the Friends of Fort Dupont are saying that they're not going to run the facility for the foreseeable future. That could be the next up to another year, which leaves in question who's going to run it. Like, let's say DC figures out all the issues with this dehumidification system. Can they find someone to actually operate the rink? Because it's not just an issue. It's not like you don't just throw a bunch of random employees in there and just ask them to collect a couple bucks from people who are going to come skating. I mean, there's programming that's involved. There's games that people want to play. So like, it takes a little more than that. So the city's going to have to figure out who they're going to find, if anyone, to actually run this place so it can open. And then, I mean, if there are legitimate issues with the construction, like, was it the contractor that screwed up? Well, would the city have to sue the contractor? Is there actually a warranty involved? Like, all these things, it could get really messy really quickly because these projects often do.
I feel like this is an instance where, like, you know, your tax dollars get put to use and you're expecting, like, yes, it goes towards like roads and libraries and like, yes, an ice rink. But in this case, it's just turned into like a money pit.
Yeah, I mean, and there's obviously been other good examples. I think the one people cite often is the pool down at Haynes Point at East Potomac Park. There used to be an outdoor pool there. It was lovely. People loved going down there because it was next to where people can play golf. So it was kind of very serene. Then the city paid some money. They wanted to get a new one built. And that ended up legitimately being a pit of money. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, they were digging the hole for the new pool and then realized they couldn't actually build a new pool there for a number of reasons related to just what Haynes Point is and how it's the fact that it's sinking, so you can't really build a pool there easily. But the point is they spent a ton of money before they got to the point of realizing, oh crap, we can't actually build it here. So that was a literal money pit. And yeah, there have been other examples where the city has spent a ton of money redoing schools, let's say, and then they open them and realize that the HVAC system for this brand new school just does not work. And so they have to go in there and just replace the whole thing, spend a bunch of more money. So yeah, it's not great.
Got to be a metaphor for city efficiency in there somewhere.
Oh, God.
Taking up a pool that everybody loved, that is extremely popular, sinking a bunch of money into it and having it be a literal money pit. Yeah, that's got to be a metaphor.
Well, or for an ice rink, and like I love puns. I'm an old man, so like I get away with like dad joke puns. And so this story, as I was writing it, like all the folks I work with, the editors at the 51st, were probably like, just shut up with your ice rink puns. Like, you're done with like things are frozen, things are on thin ice. Like, just
if you've got them, use them. Like, when are you going to get the opportunity to bust out these ice puns?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously. All right. So for a project that has been frozen and on thin ice for years now, can this be fixed? Like, when can I skate on this ice rink again, Martin?
So the city says that they can have the problems that they have found fixed in time to open by late October. So within the next month. That's what they're saying. The Friends of Fort Dupont, again, they're the ones who are supposed to operate the rink and had operated the rink, are very doubtful. And they say even if DC fixes all these things, they're not going to be able to operate the rink. They just don't feel safe about it. They don't feel like the rink will be up to what their standards. So I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll get a more realistic read on whether that late October deadline will come to pass. And or it could be the sort of thing where like DC just says, like, we got to save face here and open this thing. So we're just going to open it and just hope for the best. And some of the folks I talked to said, you can run a rink with a bad dehumidification system during the winter because it's cold outside. Like, it's not that big of an issue. The big concern is, of course, like come June and July next year, if they haven't fixed the big problems with the system, then it's going to be miserable in there. So I think it might be a wait and see sort of situation.
Well, speaking of waiting and seeing, what do you see as Fort Dupont's future? Is this project going to survive?
Right now, it's interesting because I feel like the Friends of Fort Dupont and the city, they both obviously they want to get this open. There's a lot of frustration that it's already pushed past the deadline that a lot of like ice hockey teams needed to secure ice time and actually start being able to play games. So Fort Dupont is losing customers. The Friends of Fort Dupont are frustrated. The city wants this thing open because it's embarrassing that it's not open and that there might be issues. But those frustrations so far they've been diplomatically addressing each other. I think now the frustrations might be building to the point that it may get a little less diplomatic. Like the city council may be stepping in at some point, potentially holding hearings to ask both sides, like, what the heck is going on and when can we get this resolved? Because this is a facility that we have paid good money for. It's a community asset. People love this place. Why can't we get this open again?
Yeah, and I feel like people love this place because it also has this really cherished history, specifically of black hockey. Like the Fort Dupont Cannons are one of the only black hockey teams like in the nation, as far as I know. One of their founders like won an award from the NHL. And part of me wonders, can that history still be sustained when they're having this fight over money and politics and who's in the right and who's in the wrong, and the council is getting involved?
Yeah, and I talked to an assistant coach from the Fort Dupont Cannons, and he was awesome. He grew up skating on the ice. He went on to play in college, and then he kind of like, he's now an assistant coach there. They couldn't field a team last year for the first time because they didn't get enough kids that were interested because it was too far for families to drive to go to the suburban rinks, which are located in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Fairfax. And so I think there is a legitimate concern that the longer this drags out, the more the community that once existed may be taking a big hit. Because again, you could run a figure skating program that has targeted, young black kids in the neighborhood around the ice rink. And it's been closed for so long that there's going to be fewer people that are interested. There are fewer people who are going to say, listen, I'm so committed to this that I'm going to have my parents drive me out to suburban rink in the middle of DC rush hours to do this one activity. So I think there is a legitimate concern that the community could be changing if this drags on.
Martin, is there anything we didn't ask you that you wanted to mention about the rink?
No, I think you guys covered it all. I mean, it was great that, like, Julia, it's awesome that you actually have like personal investment in the sport itself, or like in ice rinks, because again, to me, like, yeah, I take my kids ice skating, but like I'm not a player and I don't do the sports side of it.
All right. Well, Martin, Bridget, hopefully in the coming months, in the winter months, good dehumidification system or not, I will meet you all at the new and improved Fort Dupont Ice Rink.
See ya on the ice.
It's a slippery situation. We'll see. All right.
Had to get one more in there.
With that, I think I'm done, right? Okay, you can cut me off now.
All right. And before you go, hit the locker rooms, the showers. Sorry, I had to continue with the horrible sports puns. I know you love them. I love them. It's fine. But if you liked the show and you like all of our other shows, please, please, please become a member of CityCast DC at membership.citycast.fm. Be like new member Lauren D, who said, I like your content and I want to support local businesses that report on DC. Lauren, that's so nice. Oh my God. Thank you. And thank you to our new members, Kenneth S. L. B., Natalie L., Lauren D., a different Lauren D. There are multiple Lauren Ds, guys. We're going to have to differentiate somehow. I don't know how we're going to do this. And Sarah B., thank you for joining. Again, it's just $10 a month or $100 for the year, and you can join at membership.citycast.fm. Plus, you get a sick Neighbors Make DC tote to carry your skates around in. Again, membership.citycast.fm. Help us reach our membership goal. That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. It's called Hey DC. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Bye.